Okay. Huge technical difficulties. So I'm hoping everything's going to be up and running. For those who have seen my reschedule, I will be doing a live stream next week. That is Sunday, August 11th, 2019. So definitely go check that out if you missed this one. Huge apologies for this. Um, so what we're going to do is I'm going to come right back because honestly, I had no idea if this thing was even going to work. So I left my other monitor in the other room. And so I'm going to run out, grab that, and then we'll get started with some Q&A. Thankfully, after this is all recorded, I'll just trim off this first bit and we'll get into some cool stuff. All right, I'll be right back. All right, thank you guys for showing up, and I will be right back. Okay, I am back. So I wanted to kick this thing off with a little bit about standing out. So this video's going to be about how to get started. I get a lot of these questions, and most of them are from people who don't have any expertise, who have not gone off to school. So this is someone. So I want to go into for this to be about people who have, like, can't even talk this morning. Maybe I need more coffee, or maybe I had too much coffee. I'm not sure which. But so what I want to do is cover how to get started for people who have some expertise. If you are brand spanking new, you don't have any knowledge of marketing, well, that's the first place to start. That's what I did. I wanted to get into marketing. I wanted to start my own agency, 2 decades ago. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to do copywriting. The only thing I knew how to do was make websites. That I taught myself how to code websites. So that was the very first thing that I did. But I didn't know how to get customers. I didn't know how to do marketing. I didn't know how to do any of that other stuff. So I started studying it. I had a young family, like my wife and a baby girl, and I had to figure out how to make money while doing all this. So I was working, I was taking sales training, I was studying books and having a baby. So didn't sleep much at night, anyways. But I was studying all into the evenings. So that was the thing is. Like, I was working all day and I was studying every night and then putting it into action the very next day. So it's like you could consider the beginning of my career was like one giant side hustle. It was nothing but one big side hustle. I was just hustling, just trying to figure out how to do it. And so I was selling some copywriting. As soon as I learned how to do a little bit of copywriting, I sold that as a skill. I knew how to make websites. So I sold websites as a skill, and I started piecing together the things that require an agency. So for those who are in school, fantastic. You're studying how to do marketing. The thing that I see, because I get applications for at my agency from people who are fresh out of school. They've studied business administration with an emphasis in marketing. That's usually the degree, and they have no practical experience, which is crazy. When we have these phones, we can sit down and do social media. We can practice it. We can do ads for ourselves. Like, getting practical experience is super easy to do today because you don't need a client. You can use yourself as your first client, use yourself as your first portfolio. And that's one of the best ways to start getting experience. And I get this question frequently, and that's my answer is, if you are just starting out, use yourself as your very first example. Don't waste your time trying to do free stuff initially, because you're going to get told no a lot. Even when you're trying to sell your services for free, you are going to get told no, because free is still risky. Someone's business is their baby, especially this really small businesses that a lot of people are going after. It's their baby, and they are not going to take a massive risk with harming their company just because you're offering your services for free. So the best thing you can do is start using yourself as your very first case study. Build your website, set up your social media accounts, and start promoting yourself. Start building your brand, which is going to help you build authority anyways. Do a lot on LinkedIn today. Like, that's a great place for you to put a bunch of effort, and then put all that together as a package. Maybe even start spending a little bit of money on advertising, especially if you're somebody who's going to specialize in Facebook advertising or any other social media advertising, or even Google AdWords. Spend some money advertising yourself. And that could simply be, it simply could be a workshop. Like, you're going to put on a workshop in your local area. Advertise that. Like, get some experience, and then you can show, hey, I did this advertising and it got me this number of people to show up to my event, and this number of people became my clients. We can do something very similar for you, right? That's the best beginning that you can start with. All right. Now, that was the first intro that I wanted to give for this. And so now just let's run over to the comments. And so we got Lazar. Hey, thanks for showing up. Jack Jacksonville. Dude, love that kind of rhyming. I use that kind of stuff all the time. Thanks for showing up. Simon, the tech is kind of working. I kind of figured out a way, and it was really accidental. So I will do another live stream next week, just to kind of make up for the fact that this one was pretty half-assed. So but thanks for showing up. Let's open up for questions. I don't even know how many people are on there. It looks like we got just a handful of people. Please ask questions. This is a great time for you to get access to my expertise and use it to grow your business. So hit me with any questions you got. Because and if I don't get any questions, then I'll do another short bit about copying. I see a lot of Me Too's out there, and I want to. I'll share a way of getting around being Me Too. So, all right, give a little. We got some more people showing up. Let's get some questions in here. So who's on? We've got several people on. I see I've already said hi to 30 people who've commented. All right, Lazar, what do you think about cold calling in order to sell digital marketing services? Okay, do it if you need business today. Like, if it's something you need, like right now, you need to make money right now, cold call. It puts you in a weaker position simply because they have no idea who you are. So they are not requesting you to solve something for them. You're just calling and trying to find out, do you have the problem that I can solve? And here's a solution for you. Would you like to have another conversation to discuss it? And you'll get a lot of no's. At the beginning of my career, I did 500 calls a day. That was part of a sales training program that I went through. And the first few weeks was mostly 500 calls a day, not including everything else that I had to do as part of that sales training program. So I hate it. I don't like it. I like creating a lot of marketing and advertising and get people to come to me and say, I want to work with you. But that's slower. That takes a lot longer. So if you want to make sales in the near term, then start dialing for dollars. It's going to be rough. It's not going to be easy unless you're just already amazing at doing phone sales. If you're not amazing at doing phone sales, find some training on it and practice it. Like what I studied was Tom Hopkins' sales training program. I don't even think it's available. It was like a cassette package. So that might help. Okay, now Simon, you mentioned that you want to use paid ads on YouTube to grow your channel. Okay, I've been holding off on that, Simon. I will do it. I have not done it yet. The reason is I've seen a lot of stuff about how it'll lower your view times per video, which will get those videos recommended less. But I think I'm at a stage now where I have enough videos. I've got, I think, like 50 something videos available. So I think I have enough that I can risk the view times on like 3 or 4 of my better videos, the ones that get the most views already. I might take those and advertise those specific videos. And then I'm also looking at creating a commercial, like hey, this is what my channel's about, and then advertising that and see what happens. Because with that video, I don't care about the watch time on it because it's only going to get advertised. All right, that's my answer. Okay, Lazar, the flow of cold calling is mostly you're going to get hung up on, or people are like, I'm too busy, goodbye. And that's the flow. Most people are just never going to answer their phone in the first place, or you're going to call a business and you're going to get a gatekeeper of some sort. Could be someone who's actually paid to be a receptionist, or it could be somebody who's their assistant, or just any random person who happens to answer the phone. And then you need to go from that to whoever the decision maker is. If you do your research properly, you'll know who the decision maker is and you can ask for them by name. If you don't know who they are by name, you are going to struggle massively. So do research. Actually figure out, like, who could I actually help, and go do a little research. LinkedIn's perfect for that. You can do a little bit of research and find out who you need to talk to. And even that is not going to go smoothly for most of it. Like 500 calls a day is what I did. So 500 really bad calls most of the time. And then every so often I get 1 or 2 that were just fantastic. So because what you're doing is you're playing the law of large numbers and trying to get someone who just happens to be in the mood at that moment to talk to somebody like you. So then the next thing you do is, when you actually do get to talk to them, all you want to do is find out if they're struggling with whatever you solve. So let's say it's advertising online. So, hey, I just want to know, like, because I did a little bit of research and I saw that you're doing some Facebook ads, but how well are those working for you? Oh, they're going badly. Okay, well, that's what I specialize in. Would you like to set up a time to actually go in and I can show you a short strategy, no obligations, that you don't have to buy anything from me. But if I help you, then you might find that you'll use my services. Would you like to set up that time? And then you give them an option of old school closing technique so I have time on Tuesday in the morning and in the afternoon. Which one works best for you? And that's it, is set up the next call. You don't want to try to close on that first call. That would be a big mistake. All right, boom, back to the Q&A. Alfredo, how do you handle all the law stuff? In our country, cold calling and mailing is forbidden. I got 4 clients this month by doing it, but one guy wants to sue me. So In the US, a lot easier. I don't know the laws in Germany. And even with those laws, there's probably loopholes in relation to them. So I don't recommend you break the law. Like it's like, obviously I'm not going to say go break the law on camera, but I don't anyways. Like I don't do it here in the States. Things that are against the regulations here, I do my best not to, run afoul of those. But there's so many, it's almost impossible to not make a mistake. But the thing is you actually need to know the rules around your business. There's an old saying like ignorance of the law is no excuse. Like it's no defense. If you get sued and you're like, I just was ignorant of the law, like that's not going to, be in your favor. So you really do need to speak to a lawyer. This is something, especially in countries with so many regulations like Germany, where they regulate every aspect of your life, then you need to go speak to an attorney and actually learn what you need to know. This is critically important. A lot of people ignore this, and a question I get all the time is, "Hey Tim, can I have one of your contracts?" And I'm just gonna model it. I'm not gonna copy it. Well, they always copy. No one ever models it. And the other thing is, I don't want to put myself in a position of being sued because the contract, something goes wrong with the contract. So I always recommend go talk to an attorney, because there's no way I can even know all the laws in the United States, let alone laws all over the country, all over the world. So that's the best response I have for you. Not a great one, but it's the best one. All right. Luciana, hello, Tim. Just want to thank you for your time and for putting this helpful live out there. I appreciate it and value your expert input in the marketing field. It is a privilege to learn from you. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. These live streams really help overcome the sitting here talking to a camera and feeling like I'm insane just speaking to myself all the time. So at least I get some interaction and know that there's real people on the other side of the video. So thank you for showing up. Let's see. SEO. So Thomas asking me more questions, buddy. Hopefully you are taking action on the stuff that you're asking. SEO. How would you package that as a long-term solution to clients? 6 to 12-month contract, lower rates for first few clients. Appreciate your time. Okay, SEO is a long-term practice. It takes a long time just because you've got a lot to slog through. There's a lot of barriers to success in SEO. It's not advertising. And so that's the number one thing is you go to people who already understand that. Don't try to convince people who know nothing about SEO that they need to spend at least 12 months with you because they're not going to believe you. They're just not going to believe it. But other people who have done SEO, especially those who have been doing it for themselves and they're like, man, this is really hard. Maybe I need to get an expert in here. Those people, they understand just how difficult it really is to successfully do SEO. So go to people who understand the problem. Don't try to convince people who have no clue. If they have no clue, then put them into an education sequence. Say, hey, here's some stuff that will educate you on SEO, and don't try to sell them at all, because you're just going to end up causing pain for yourself. So now the next thing is long-term. You use that phrase long-term. Well, SEO, a short-term contract with SEO should be 12 months. Probably shouldn't go any longer than 12 months. So I knew a guy here in Phoenix that he sold SEO as a 12-month solution. And then after 12 months, you were done as his client. He was not going to keep you because all the major work, all the major impact happens in that 12-month period. After that 12-month period, it's incremental. It's like really tiny gains. but it takes the same amount of money and it takes the same amount of effort, and the gains are tiny. And so clients, so this is what he learned, is that clients start to resent paying, and he charged $10,000 a month for 12 months. They start resenting paying $10,000 a month for those tiny gains because they were so excited about the fact that they got those massive gains in the first 12 months. So like a thing like SEO, my belief is that it's a 12-month deal. Like we've got a system and we're going to implement this system. Afterwards, you can pay us for a maintenance package, but you're going to do this. You're going to do this system that we have that gets you results, and it's a 12-month system. And that's all I would sell in relation to SEO. Okay, let's see. Okay, John has me in the background while onboarding some clients. All right, dude, focus on those clients. Come back and watch this later. Clients are far more important than looking at my ugly mug. So just come back and watch the replay. So Ahmed, I keep getting clients who only pay around $400 per month for AdWords services. Any suggestions? Target bigger companies. That is the answer. So, are you any good at advertising? You know, if you're good at AdWords services, well, then go target bigger companies. That is the solution. There is no other solution. So, if you're getting all these people who only pay $400, then it's you doing this. It's not them. So that's the first thing you have to understand is it's not the prospect's fault that they come in with this expectation. It's your fault for attracting those prospects. So then the first thing you need to do is level up your game. Only target bigger companies. Identify them, identify these bigger companies and start doing advertising to attract them. Because if you're good at AdWords, you should be able to generate some leads from AdWords for yourself that are higher level. But what I would recommend you do is start creating content like this. Start creating a YouTube channel. Granted, YouTube's really hard to break in, but LinkedIn, you could go on LinkedIn, and I think you could crush that by creating content around how to maximize results from advertising, not just AdWords, but just succeeding online for particular kinds of businesses. And I would target larger ones. So if you pay attention to my videos and you comment a lot, and so I know you've watched quite a few of my videos, when I reference my clientele, I reference the ones that are $1 million and up. I do have a few clients that are $500,000 in revenue and up. So the reason I talk about that and I signal to my audience that those are my clients, because people who are brand spanking new like watching my videos and they get value from them, but I don't want them contacting me saying, hey, could you work with me? Because they can't afford me. It would use up a lot of my time doing sales calls for people who aren't qualified to work with me. So you need to start filtering out, and you can do that through content by saying, I work with $10 million and up companies. Like that's a phrase you can start using. And then as soon as you get one of those bigger companies, then you create a case study around it. And then that becomes your proof that you work with larger companies. It doesn't have to be 10 million. I would focus on at least $1 million and up. And if they're $1 million and up and refuse to pay more than $400, well, send them away. But then the next thing you need to do is create a pre-qualifying system. So that could be a short questionnaire. Fill out this form before you talk to me. Or it could be you're going to do a 15-minute call and you're going to go through your pre-qualifying questions, and then if they don't qualify, then you're going to say, hey, thanks for coming. Here's some information that will help you, And because my belief is always leave your prospect better off than when they found you. So they came to you and they didn't know anything. Well, now you can't work with them, but you're going to give them some information, valuable information that allows them to go, solve their problem. So that's how I would handle it. All right. It looks like we're down at the bottom of the questions. Anybody got any more questions? We got plenty of people on. Let's answer your questions. Let's get you making money. Because I really like doing the Q&A. I like, maybe my whole channel should just be a Q&A. Like that's it. Maybe that's the entire thing. All right. Anyone else? Because if not, then I will do a little bit on copying, on differentiation. Anyone? Give it 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Get your booty on the floor. All right. Nope. Okay. So copying. Here's most agencies are identical to every other agency, and that's terrible. It's one of the things that you can easily not do, but everyone getting started and even my clients who've been in business for a while are afraid to differentiate themselves. How crazy is that? They understand marketing, that you have to be differentiated from everyone else, but they're afraid to do it. That's crazy. It's such a crazy idea that they're afraid to step out and be different from the other agencies. Their website looks identical. Their headlines are identical. Their services are identical. And so here's my belief: when you're just getting started, copy. Like, go look at what the best in the industry are doing and do your best to mimic what they do. Like, don't steal their words, don't steal their images, nothing like that, but just mimic what they do. And then the reason you're mimicking what they do is to learn the skills that come from being good at achieving that mimicry, right? So let me give you an example. I was testing out because I decided back last November 2018, I decided that I was going to jump back into audience building because I've been kind of hidden from the internet for about 4 years. And so I decided to jump back into audience building. So one of the things was, I'm going to test Instagram. I don't know anything about Instagram. It's just something I never played with. And so the first thing I did was go and start looking at who does something similar to me that is doing it at a high class level, like at the top. And one of the best is Gary V, right? He's got an agency. He's a personal brand, and he does all like massive amounts of content. So the first thing we did when we started creating it, me and my small team, was we just started copying what Gary V was doing and a few other people. So it wasn't like you looked at my YouTube, my Instagram, and it was like identical to Gary V stuff, but we just mimicked it. We didn't copy his words. We didn't copy his pictures, but we did take some of the design elements. We did take some of the messaging, and we took my stuff, my original stuff, and we, made it look just like Gary's posts and some of the other people that kind of fit with what I was doing. And we just tested that out. So we started doing, Gary was doing these 60-second videos in a meme style. So we did the same thing. We took one of my longer videos, chopped it down, and made it into a 60-second video. Gary V made multiple, like this swipe images. We did that too. So we just started mimicking those elements so that we could get good at it. I realized Instagram just wasn't my bag. It just wasn't something that I want to get amazing at right now. And YouTube seems to be the thing that I would be the best for what I'm trying to achieve. So I shifted all my resources over to YouTube, trying to figure out this game. And that's the thing, is like, you copy, you mimic, and then you innovate. Then you become your own. And that's the part where most agencies falter is they copy at the very beginning and then never innovate, never set themselves up for greater success. And that's the biggest key to differentiation is you start off looking like everyone else, but then at some point you're good enough. You have skills, you have a point of view, you have a world perspective. Then that becomes your new brand. That becomes the new look. That becomes your new message. And most are too afraid to do it. I've worked with a lot of agencies that have been in business for like 6 years, and they're struggling. Like everything was going great for the first couple of years because it's like they just were mimicking everybody and just growing, and then they hit that cap because mimicry will only take you to a certain level, and then it caps, and then they stayed there for years. Like I've got a client that came to me just recently, and I knew them from a few years ago. Their revenue from 3 years later still the same, and it's like now they're here. It's like, let's fix that because they don't want to sit at the same level, and the reason is they're no different than their competitors. So it's time. So we're going to work on innovation. We're going to find their worldview, and we're going to turn that into their message, and they will be completely different from their competitors. All right, back to Q&A. Simon, budget question. How would you distribute a marketing budget for social media? Meaning, how would you split it between production and distribution? Spend $10,000 on a video and $10,000 on Facebook ads. So I wouldn't spend $10,000 on a video unless you're trying to do some high production value. And even then, I would want to be an expert at doing video. Like I would have already had a track record of a whole bunch of videos. Like the stuff you see me doing here on YouTube, they're like, I'm figuring it out. And so there's no way I would set up a production schedule to do like a $10,000 budget or a $5,000 budget or even a $1,000 budget on a single video yet. The reason is I don't have the skill set like to truly pull it off. Like just being on camera, I objectively analyze my own videos, and I don't have yet. I've not built the skill level to be highly charismatic on video, and that is incredibly important to the success of a video, the scripting and the storyboarding and all that. Sure, I can hire people who are experts in that, but I still have to be able to come in and perform at that higher level, or I substitute someone else. For my particular brand, that's not possible. For a client of yours, that may be the path. Like a client comes in like, we want high quality videos. We want an expert actor or actress who is going to read a well-written script and they want to that high level. Well, then, yeah, for a client, I might do that. But even then, I would want to make sure there was a track record. Have you been doing videos like this in the past? No? Well, then you're probably putting too much money onto this single video and hoping it's going to achieve massive success, and it's probably not, unless they're coming to me and I've got a track record for other clients where we've taken a large budget and turned it into something very successful, like ad agencies do. So I'm trying to make this as a caveat because if by asking this question, that means you most likely don't have large ad agency experience where you do create commercials. But then there's the other side of this. We live in an age of volume. We need more volume. We don't need one great video. We need 100 pretty good videos. And you can do that. You could do 100 videos for less than $10,000. So in production, right? So that's something that's possible. Then the distribution, that's the main thing. is if no one sees this content, it doesn't matter. So I would put more effort into distribution than the production. But the production still has to be good enough. That's why I keep going back to, well, what's your track record? Do you have a track record of doing decent videos? If you do, well, then you can put a little more money into them, but also you can spend more money on distribution. Because if you've got a terrible video and you spend 10 grand on distribution, guess what? You just wasted 10 grand because the video was terrible. So I know that doesn't truly answer your question, but the reality is there's variables. Are you any good at doing videos? Are you any good at advertising and doing the distribution? If you're not good at any of those things, then you've got to build up to that level. All right, boom. I hope that made any sense. Oh my gosh. All right, Lazar's back. How much of the total service cost should be invested in ads? Zero service cost should be invested in ads. I'm assuming, like, if I charge, okay, yeah, I should have read the whole question. If I charge $2,000 per month, how much should go in ads? Zero should go in ads. Do not include ad spend in your fees. Don't do it. That's my answer. Do not do it. There's a lot of gurus out there who tell people to do that, and it's terrible advice. I have fixed multiple agencies now that took that advice, and that's how they built their businesses. It was like charging $3,000, and then a percentage of that $3,000 would get spent in ads. Like, that's terrible advice. It puts you in the wrong position with your client. Sure, it's an easy decision for your client to make because, it's going to cost me $3,000 every month and there's no variables. But there's no room for growth. What if you're really successful for a client? Guess what? You can't spend any more money on ads. Think about that. What if you are actually any good at what you do and they're doing really well and they go, we want to spend more money on ads. And then you're like, well, I'm going to have to charge you more money. Well, and they're like, no, the ad spend is inside this $2,000. What do you do then? Right? So don't do it. Don't ever do it. Charge $2,000 and then charge ad spend. Okay. Thanks for the answer. Okay, so Simon followed up with that. I often have the situation that a CEO wants to run ads on social media, but on the other hand, don't want to spend much money on production. Well, they don't have to spend a lot of money on production, but if you are creating the content, well, then there's got to be a budget for creating the content. And so they can't just spend money on ads and then like, oh, all of our ads are crap. Like part of doing your job properly is guiding your clients and saying, here's what you actually have to have. These are the assets that we need to create, the creative. We make these things and then we deploy them through advertising. And that's part of what you have to do in the sales process, in your onboarding process, the continuing relationship. And then the other part is, work with the company, become an actual partner. Don't be a vendor. Because that's and partly what's hidden in that question is that you're being a vendor. Oh, here's my money. Go do a thing for me. Like, no, marketing requires the input of the client. And if the client doesn't want to be a part of the marketing, they don't have to be a part of the content, right? They don't have, the CEO doesn't have to be on camera. That's not required, but they still have to be a part of the whole process. Otherwise, you will do fairly mediocre marketing. Okay. Let's see. Just trying to read. I don't want to read out loud. Let's see. So Andy, although I've been learning and doing marketing as a freelancer for 4 to 5 years, my background is in mergers and acquisitions and business development. and I'm now thinking of moving into consulting and outsourcing the work. Well, what work? What are you doing? um, so doing marketing as a freelancer, or are you going to be doing mergers and acquisitions and business development? Like, I'm not sure what you're wanting to do. Um, any recommendations on how to make this transition? Yeah, I don't have enough data to I don't have enough information and context as to your situation. Because and so here's the thing. I I know the guru thing to do is to give you an answer. But the reality is I don't know enough. Like as a consultant and coach, I understand that the complexities of business. If you're making a transition, there's a lot of things to juggle. Finance is one. Like money, do you have the money to make the transition? Because you're just not going to instantly start making money in the other thing. So how's that pan out? Right? Do you have startup capital? Do you have connections necessary to do the new thing? Do you have have you built up a network? If you've not done that, do you have case studies? Do you have your own personal brand? Do you have any of the elements that showcase your authority for this new thing? If not, start building those things. So there's a lot of pieces that need to come into play. Okay, so doing Google and Facebook ads for 4 to 5 years, and now thinking of outsourcing to, the actual implementation to third parties. Okay, so there's no law that says you have to do the work. None. Be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs don't necessarily do labor. Doing Facebook ads and Google ads, AdWords, it's labor. Like, there's a million people out there who are really good. There's other people who've just been on this asking questions, probably really good at doing the actual work. Maybe not good at doing, there's a lot, and here's the thing, there's a lot of people not good at doing all the other elements of a business, like sales, like marketing. Kind of funny, marketing companies that are terrible at marketing. That's about 99% of them. So they're terrible at doing their own marketing. So if you're good at all those other elements of running a business, being an entrepreneur, well, then you don't have to do the labor. But here's the thing. If you use an agency, if you're like some company out there that says, you pay us $1,000 a month and we do all this stuff for you. They have to maintain their margins to make any money. And if you check out my stuff, I say all the time, like, you shouldn't be charging anything less than $25,000 a year for a client, because of all the custom stuff that comes out of it, the interaction with the customer and all this stuff. Well, if they're charging you $1,000, well, that's $12,000 a year. So there's no way they're going to be able to do a good job for you. And if they do, it's because they're lucky. They got lucky that there's not a lot of competition or something going on with that particular client. And I've seen lots of these situations where people are using a third-party agency as a white label, and they send their clients over, and half their clients, things are going great. Maybe even 75% of their clients. But then the other 25 to 50% get mediocre or poor results. Guess who they blame? They don't blame the white label. They blame you. And then you don't have you don't have the wherewithal to fix it, because that white label is not going to change their processes. They're not going to change for you. They're not going to fix it. Like, that's the reality, because white label agencies are all in the business of volume. Like, they're just going to get a whole bunch, and that's how they're going to make their money, because they're going to lose clients left and right. So so they lose some of your clients. Like, it doesn't bother them, right? So then if you're using someone who's a contractor, well, if you can't employ that contractor at least full time, they're going to go away, or they're going to set you up as divided attention. You might not get their best energy on your clients. So one of their other a lot of times, a lot of these contractors, like you find them on Upwork, they're juggling multiple accounts, they're multiple clients for themselves. And what will happen is they may not give their best energy to any of them. Like their energy just might get dissipated. So if you use contractors, work very closely with them so that they can understand how you want things to be done. Like treat them like an employee, like bring them in as part of your company, and that way they can really understand how you want things done, and maybe you'll get their best energy on your accounts and not on the others. Then the other is hire employees. Like don't do the work yourself, just hire the employees and go out and get business. All right. Now, okay. So Andy says, what I'm trying to say is moving my focus on selling strategy and being a consultant first and then implementation, but outsourcing the implementations. Everything that I just said, like, doesn't change that. Like, well, then sell strategy, sell that stuff. Like that should, like, if you go back through some of my videos, you'll see that that's part of the business. Like sell strategy, sell your implementation, and then sell training, and then maybe even sell coaching on top of that. Like that's the business model. You should have those things. That's it. Like if you only do implementation, well then as your agency, not you personally, but as your agency, you only do implementation, well then you're competing on price. You become a commodity. If you sell strategy, you sell your thinking. What happens is now you're an authority. You become a trusted advisor. And so then when you do implementation, they trust your implementation more. But here's the thing. The implementation is the thing that will eventually degrade. It's the thing that eventually they'll start thinking, well, maybe I can get that cheaper somewhere else. That never goes away in any client relationship. So it's not like adding strategy, adding consulting is going to eliminate the problems of implementation. It's just that, with implementation, they just trust you more when they are using you for implementation. But at some point, they are going to think, I could probably get this cheaper. But they may still pay you for your training, your coaching, your strategy. They may still continue to pay you for that, but then just take implementation somewhere else. And that's fine too. So that's it. That's the advice I've got for that. All right. Got it, Tim. Thank you. Yes, I've been selling implementation only for the last 2 to 3 years. My perception is that implementation is becoming a commodity. Implementation has always been a commodity. It's not a commodity at the very beginning. When AdWords first came out, it was not a commodity. You go back before AdWords, Overture, and I can't remember its name when I first started using Overture. It was not a commodity. It was brand new, so there just wasn't enough people doing the implementation. But AdWords has been around for a very long time. Like somebody could have an entire career of just doing AdWords now. It's been around that long, and so implementation in anything that has been around for a few years is simply a commodity. Always is. So the only thing that is never a commodity is your thinking, is your authority. Those are the only things that you can continually innovate on that will definitely stand out from everyone else. Implementation, execution of your ideas, that stuff's a commodity everywhere. All right, everybody. Thanks for showing up. One last question. If anyone wants to hit me with a question, please do so now. And if not, all right. Okay, so Andy's jumping back in. Did you start out in implementation and then transition? Yes, because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any mentors. I actually barely had any skill set. So I knew how to make websites. So I sold websites. I learned how to do copywriting. So I sold my copywriting. But then what I started doing is I started finding mentors. I started finding people who were doing things that I wanted to do. I wanted to move back in my early career. I wanted to become like a fancy ad agency. So I started hanging out with the fancy ad agency people. How do they do sales? Like they have these account managers. How do they do what they do? How do the creative directors do what they do? How do they organize their teams? Like that's what I started studying. I started getting involved with people like that so that I could learn how all the pieces were put together and then learn to be an entrepreneur and organize other people. So one of the first things I stopped doing was web design. I had other people do web design. I kept doing copywriting because I hadn't found a good copywriter to use. But then eventually I hired copywriter, I stopped doing SEO, hired those people. I stopped doing all these other elements because I just found people who were better at them than me. And then I was able to focus more and more on the strategy that my clients were coming to me for. And then I had a team that could actually do the implementation. That's how I got started. And if I knew what I was doing, if I actually had real skills in the beginning and mentors, I would have just skipped over and just started selling what I was good at, and then execution as a secondary thing. All right. I always love doing that. I always love putting out. Got one, got a question, last question, and then like I get more questions. So, all right. Raphael, wish I was earlier. We'll rewatch. Appreciate your channel. Revolutionary, how I run my own biz. Thanks for all the way from the Caribbean. All right, awesome. Thanks for joining us. If you got a question, ask one. Elite SMMA. How do you feel and thoughts on a full service agency? We provide everything from website SEO. Full service is a misnomer, right? Because do you do billboards? Do you do live events? Do you do any kind of other sponsorship setups? Like, do your clients, as an example, do your clients advertise, sponsor, it's advertising, but sponsor Lollapalooza, right? Full service, like encompasses everything, right? So you could say, well, I'm a full service digital agency. Well, okay, even that, you probably are not going to cover everything. So I wouldn't focus on full service. I wouldn't focus on, here's all my stuff. Here's all my different things that I execute on. I would focus on your thinking. I would focus on the strategy. What do you bring to the table that no other marketing agency can possibly do? Like, can you take all those full service things that you do, package them into a solution that does something that another agency can't do? Because one of the things you got to understand, the real power in marketing is in the creative. It's in the idea. It's in the thing that is going to grab the attention of the market. That's where 90% of your effort needs to go. Most SMMAs and stuff focus on the execution, the maintenance, the just day-to-day elements of an online ad, and put very little effort into the creative. And that's why ad agencies are amazing, like the Madison Avenue, Mad Men kind of agencies. Why do they get paid hundreds of millions and billions of dollars from very large corporations? Because their creative is far better than anything else anyone else is doing. That's it. Like, so if you're going to be a full service agency, doesn't really matter. Even if you're just doing Facebook ads and nothing else. The creative is the part that matters. The insight, the concepts that you can come up with. That's where you put all your effort. That's where you put your selling effort if you want to build a significant business. All right. So hopefully that helps. All right. Elite. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. Satsiri Winberg, right? That's an interesting name. How important is it to niche down and focus your agency? And could you talk about any LinkedIn strategies? Okay, that's a lot of questions. Okay, two built in one, two big ones. Niching. I am not into niching. Got a couple of videos on niching. You can do a search on my channel, find those. Niche is okay to get started, but you should be focused on an industry. How do you serve an industry? You may take a niche inside of that industry and focus on that. The other side is where I'm more interested in, and I see the biggest success is specialty. What is your specialty, your expertise, the thing that makes you unique, right? So about 10, 15 years ago, you could be a niche player in, say, heating and air conditioning. So we do marketing just for heating and air conditioning. Well, now there's a million of those people. Niching to that doesn't mean anything anymore. Niching to be plumbers doesn't mean anything anymore. Niching to dentists, any of those retail type niches, there's a million guys who have all jumped into that because they hear gurus talk about those particular things. And so there's tons of them. So niching doesn't automatically give you differentiation. And that's the only reason to niche is differentiation. And so you should focus on your specialty. Focus on what authority you bring to the market, to a particular industry, or that your specialty helps everyone, right? But it's still a specialty. The specialty is the thing that sets you apart. So niche, okay to get started, get your feet wet, just to get going, but long term, a niche is not a very good strategy anymore. At least for an agency. If you're selling an ebook or something on how to clear your sinuses or something like that, then sure, a niche would work. But to build an agency, niching does not have the impact that it used to have. Okay, LinkedIn strategies. Well, don't spam people. That's like there's enough people spamming on LinkedIn. The number one thing I think you should do is just build your authority on LinkedIn. LinkedIn right now, you get massive reach with your content. So just start putting content on like daily. Do 2 or 3 videos a week. Do posts on there. Like, this is my next investment in my own personal brand, is we're going to start spending money on LinkedIn. So right now I've been spending money and time and effort and study all on YouTube. Well, LinkedIn is really where I'm going to make money. And so that's where I'm going to start. My next step is to invest in that. Like the things I just said, that's what I'm going to spend my money on, not just give you like bullshit advice. I'm going to put my money there too. I've already been taking some content and putting it on there, but I haven't been putting a ton of effort into it. Then the next thing is, after I'm putting out this content, I'm going to start commenting on other people who are in my market. So my market is agencies, advertising, marketing agencies. I do consulting for them. So that's the people that I'm going to start targeting. But the thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm not targeting any of those tiny ones, because that would like my comments anyways are not going to go on like the little tiny channels, like the little tiny ad agencies and stuff, because they're not going to become my customers. So I'm going to go after bigger companies and start commenting on their content and do something that makes me noticed by them. All right, that's what you should do. Okay, so Andy's back. Another question. Did you choose a niche early on in your career, or was it something that you found over time? I did not choose a niche. I just happened to have a lot of friends in the software space. So, my very first business was a .com, back in the .com era. And it failed miserably. But in the networking that I did to build that, like pitching VCs and stuff like that, those networks allowed me to meet a lot of other people, and I started learning direct response copywriting. And my friends came to me and said, how do we're still in business, so how do we not do what you did? Right? That was like my first kind of consulting, my first advice that I sold was how not to be like me. I know it's like, that's terrible, but that's how my first advice that I sold was that. But then it was like, hey, you're doing these space ads in these trade journals to sell your software. So I learned this thing about how to do a two-step marketing campaign, and and how would you like me to try that out? And so like my first job of selling a space ad was writing the copy for a white paper, and I charged $500 for it. And that's how I got started. It was like, it was accidental that I had a niche, but I quickly expanded beyond just software. Like, because I was after having this was early days. So early days of online marketing, I didn't need a niche because I had my specialty, which was direct response online marketing for companies. So it didn't matter who the company was. So I quickly moved from those software companies to just doing that. Back in the day when we called it clicks and mortar. All right. Do you dye your hair? That is a great question. I know, you can see, like, look at that. Look how white that is. White. It's starting to come up the sides, getting a few white hairs up the sides. I'm nearly 50. Just kind of lucky to be nearly 50 years old. And it's just like, here's where all the white is right now. It's just right on my face and spreading from here. Loving the live stream. Thanks, Nigel. Okay, Charlie. Hey guys, what's up? I've been busy again today, knackered. What has everyone been doing? Well, we've been learning how to run an agency, son. All right. So get some stuff held for review. Got so Charlie. So we're getting a bunch of Yahoos on here. It's fun. It's first time I've ever had like non-agency people on here coming on being goofballs. Let's see. I plan on blasting my marketing strategy ebook out to my market in an effort to build authority and rapport around my name and my agency. Good idea. Yeah, it is a good idea. Like I said, 2 decades ago, and this is Cogent Carl. 2 decades ago, I was doing this white paper. We call them lead magnets today, right? So it's like, here, get this thing free, and then you're now in our marketing system. So 2 decades later, it still works amazingly well. Okay. What's my favorite Kung Fu quote? Let's see. Favorite Kung Fu quote. Actually, it's not even from a Kung Fu movie, from The Matrix. I know Kung Fu, right? That's it. Like that's like Keanu Reeves. Like that's probably the best one. Just because of how goofy that whole scene was. And let's see, anything else? Because I'm about to end this because we're over an hour now. Favorite film? Don't actually have a favorite film. Let's see. All right, Elite MMA. How do you feel about asking business for $100,000 onboard fee? 10% of profits of business. We'd offer following web. Okay, if they're the right company is definitely going to pay a significant amount of money if you have the authority to command that fee. That's the one thing. In an agency, you're not really driven by market rates, like commodities, like toothpaste. Like toothpaste is going to sell for basically a small spectrum. But marketing services, anything that requires expertise, there's a wide range of fees, like from the people at the lower end of it that are just not asking for very much to the higher end that are getting paid millions upon millions of dollars. It comes down to authority. Like, how do they perceive you as the only solution to their problem? And then the other is, are they capable of paying the money? So if you ask somebody for $100,000 who only makes a couple $100,000, it's not going to work. They just don't have the economics for it. But if you ask $100,000 of someone who does $10 million a year, it's not out of their reach. It's now a matter of, do they believe that $100,000 is properly invested in you? That's so great question. That is a really good question. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. Been a long one and an accidental one. So thank you for showing up. And I appreciate all the questions and everyone watching. And hopefully you'll come and check out more of my videos, and we will talk soon. Thanks, everybody.